Hi, I'm Rob and I'm here on another pub walk, and today we're in beautiful Soberton by the wonderful White Lion Inn. It's a 16th century inn. They're accommodation in the stables if you would like to stay over, if you're walking the Wayfarer's Walk or whatever. And we're going to start a nice circular walk down the Meon Valley. Come and join me. So we'll leave the pub, there's the stables accommodation, and we'll walk up to the church. It's the Church of St Peter's, which is a 12th century church with later additions. The first style of the day. A few of these on this walk. And there she is, there's St Peter's. You can see all the extensions on what probably was a very simple church in the 12th century. So the history of the village of Soberton can go back to the 6th century. Shortly after, well, a few hundred years after the Romans left Britain after the invasion, they all decided to go back to a much warmer Italy, which I think I'd have preferred to have been in Italy really, in the nice sunny weather, but hey ho, they come to their senses and the Roman Empire fell. So that left Britain wide open. The only people that were living here then were the ancient Brits, which were a Celtic race, and they happily went about their farming and so on and so on, until in the 6th century a race called the Jutes. Now the Jutes were a tribe of Germanic people from Denmark. Now they came over and pretty much took over central Hampshire. The actual tribe themselves that took over this area were the Meon tribe, and it's said that the river Meon and the Meon Valley get its name from the Meon. The name of the village is made up from Old English. Say English, everyone invaded England, there's all different languages. I mean, these were Germanic Danes, for goodness sake. But anyway, the name comprises of Soberton, said in that accent, I'm sure, and Sud is meaning south, Tun is meaning farm. The beer bit is a bit controversial. Some people say it's manor, some people say it's barley, some people say it's a grove, you know, a woodland clearing. So it was south, manor, barley, grove, farm, whichever. Take your pick from the bit. Over yet another stone. Oh, and there's an overgrown bit of path. To the left of me is the old Fareham to Alton railway. It's disused now, but more about that later. That's a funny little style, bit of railway track. I suppose that had to come in useful for something, and then once we're over the style, oh my lord. Ooh, I'm too old for this. We take the steps down, back onto the road. As I say, a railway bridge there.
We're going for a long ride.
Oh, lovely. So, we cross over the bridge on foot. Very nice day for a horse ride. Bit overcast today, a few more clouds in the sky. Oh, there's the railway from the bridge. Anyway, we carry on over the railway and down the lane. And we're looking for the Wayfarer's Walk, which will take us across the fields to Droxford via St Mary's and All Saints. Well, something tells me the natives aren't friendly. Mind you, there could be a reason for it. People don't always treat the countryside as they should, so I'll make no character judgments on the miserable old farmer that put it up. But anyway, here's our first sight of the River Meon, as it runs under Cut's Arch. Now, being sure to stick to the footpath for fear of being on the end of the farmer's shotgun or gorged by a bull, which I have seen in these fields actually. We're going to cross the fields towards Droxford. Heading into a lovely dark stand of chestnut trees, really mature old trees, very tall. Very, very tall old trees. But there's light at the end of the little bit of glade. Heading for the gap in the hedge over there. Wow! White dog poo! I haven't seen that in donkey's years. I still don't know why it's white. Someone can enlighten me, I'd love to know. Another little glimpse of the river through the gap in the bushes. Now the good news is that yonder bulls over there are only young ones. So if you're going to get gored walking across the field, it won't be too badly. Onward march, dodging the cowpats, towards this kissing gate in the corner. As we look at this beautiful river and bid farewell to the friendliest farmer on the south coast. Barbed wire fence to keep the fish out. Shall I close the gate behind me? So we're following the green arrows. At the moment, WW on them, that's Wayfarer's Walk. And they're going to take us down across these little footbridges over the river. Leave the river behind for the moment. Two options, straight on or through the churchyard. We'll go through the churchyard. And this is St Mary's and All Saints Church in Droxford. The Victorian bit, the tower, looks very, very similar to the one in Soberton. Onward. Walking on very, very old gravestones here that obviously weren't visited anymore, and they've put down for paving slabs, you can see. Writings visible on some of them. Is that 1876? That's a better one there. Died on February the 7th, 1761, aged 27 years. Terrible young age to die. Carry on and we turn left to go into the village itself. Well, that demonstrates the Victorian bit alongside a 12th century bit, which is smack bang alongside a very tasteful new extension. Quite a good job they've done on that. And we leave the church behind and we head into the village. Little shop, as they're all closed at the moment. And we're on South Hill in the village. That's the main A32. One of the old Portsmouth to London roads. Much quieter now since the A3M and so on. But anyway, we cross the road if it's safe, which it is. And we work our way up South Hill. Well, as you pass Police Station Lane on your right, take a little look. And that's the old police station, and it's attached to the old courthouse. There's a plaque up on the wall there. Courthouse 1858, formerly Droxford Police Station. Anyway, continuing back up the main road, there is the White Horse in Droxford. Now, if you're a lover of Indian food, believe it or not, you can get some smashing food in there. There's a top chef that cooked in all the top London Indian restaurants that works in there. Can't remember the name, but he's very, very good. So watch this bit, because you run out of pavement here. You have to cross the road. A quick dash to this bit of pavement over here, and then we're going down this track to the left. Here we go. So at the end of the path we've got a choice, left or right. Now left takes you back to the church, down that way. But right takes us out into this field. And there's something very special in this field that I can tell you about in a moment. Let's get over the stile without falling down. Ooh. Ah. Right. I'll give you a clue. It's where those horses are, over in the distance. So over in the distance, you can see a raised part of the field. Now so far we've talked about 16th century pubs, 12th century churches, and we've even talked about the Jutes back in the 6th century, and the Romans back in the dawn of the AD period. But with that piece of ground over there, we're going to talk even further back in history. We're going to talk about between 2,500 and 3,500 years BC, before Christ. And what that is over there is an ancient long barrow. Now, long barrows go back to Neolithic times, and simply what they are is a family burial plot, if you like, for more, not poorer people, but people less affluent than kings and princes and things. And they used to build a trench reinforced with stone, in this case it would be chalk, and bury the dead in, pile the earth up over, so you have a barrow, and then as more family members died they extended it along and it became a long barrow. But it blows your mind, doesn't it? 2,500 to 3,500 years before Christ was born. That's been there. It was the old Celtic ancient Brits that would be buried in there. This one's unusual actually, because it's never ever been excavated. So goodness knows what Celtic treasures as well as the bodies lying there. Anyway, we head for the other end of this field where that house is with the whitewash, and that'll take us on to the next bit of the path. So we've got two styles to negotiate, and we're going to continue along like that field there with the nicely cut turf. So someone has a nice relaxing time in there. I'm guessing Maybe it belongs to this house on the end. Onward through a lovely wildflower meadow. Okay, and we emerge from the fields. That's this lovely little cottage. And back out onto Cuts Arch Lane. And instead of going left back to Soberton, which you could do if you're tired by now, but if you want the rest of the walk and the views, better walk by the river, then we turn right this way. It's a lovely old Tudor building at the top of the hill, up on the junction with the main road. Now we cross over the main road and we're going up towards Midlington Farm and Midlington House. I know I've got some overseas viewers, so here's something for you. There you go. It's a letterbox, or post box. Midlington barns, been converted to nice houses. Up at Midlington House they have Meon Valley alpacas. I don't know what they do with them. But anyway, we carry on. Oh, more horse riders. Right, well so far we've gone back to around 3,500 years before Christ. I'll take you back even further now. As you get to Midlington Farm, and you go down this little gap here, which looks very, very inconsequential indeed, until you realise it's what we in Great Britain call a green lane. Technically, you can drive anything down here, with the exception that this one in particular is what they call restricted byway. So you can ride a horse, you can ride a bike. I think you can ride a bike anyway, you can certainly walk. But anything with a motor, a motorbike or a 4x4, you can't get down here. It's not legal. But anyway, as I say, it's a green lane, and these are the most ancient tracks in the whole of the country. They're the M1 of the days of prehistory, and you're talking about thousands of years ago. Those farmers that built the long barrow back there, they had to get their cattle or their grain or whatever in and out of where they were farming, even before there were villages there, and they would have used this track. So this track predates 3,500 years before Christ, probably by several thousand years. You could almost call this a hollow way, the way the trees arch over the path. Now that's a very old gnarled yew tree. You know you're an ancient track if there's a yew tree. They're revered by pagans for their long life, and Christians for their symbolism of death and rebirth, because these branches droop down, and they can, if they come in contact with the earth, they can actually reroot into the earth and create another tree, so new life from old. Well, it's a nice gentle climb uphill through the shaded branches of the trees, and we'll be rewarded at the top with a lovely view down over the Meon Valley. And as we emerge from the trees, there's the lovely view that greets us. And the green lane carries on into those woodlands there. But we're going to turn left and head our way downhill. And you can see the track we're going to take. Even down across the other side of the road, it's a nice clear footpath. And we cross back over the A32 again through this little narrow gap. Into the next field. And more, I think it's wheat. Could be barley. And we're leaving all the crops behind now. In the bottom of the valley. And approaching the river again. You notice the soil is very, very white. And that's because of the chalk. It's all chalk substrata here, as is most of the South Downs through this kissing gate. Into St Clair's Meadow Nature Reserve, the wildlife trusts of Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. A few stingers here, so watch out. Sometimes I wonder whether it's a good idea that I wear shorts. But hey ho, I like the fresh air around my legs. And here we are down at the river. Lovely place for a picnic. We're going to go over the bridge. As you can see, the river is very clear, and that's because it's a chalk stream. And Hampshire is blessed with chalk streams. They rise up from aquifers, which are reserves of water held in the porous aquifers under the hills. They come up in the form of springs and make these gorgeously clean rivers. Problem is over abstraction and lack of rainfall can make them very low sometimes. And the Meon isn't a very deep river as it is, but they're precious. Very, very precious indeed. Anyway, onwards, dodging even more stingers. Let's walk alongside the river. It's lovely, that sound of bubbling water just burbling over the stones and rocks, isn't it? Could listen for ages, very relaxing. Good place to sit and eat sandwiches, as if I had sandwiches. Egret just taken off. I really don't understand this barbed wire malarkey over the rivers. Maybe it's to keep the cattle in. It probably is, because they could wander off, I suppose. So I take that back. Anyway, we're approaching a railway bridge. and it's the bridge that carries the old Fareham to Alton railway line over it. Now we're going to go up these steps, actually go onto it, where I'll tell you a little bit more about its history. Well, if you know anything at all about old railway lines, then the last bit of the history will be very obvious to you. It involves a chap called Beeching. So, the line belonged to the London and South Western Railway Company, and as I said before, it went from Fareham all the way up to Alton, where it joined on to what is now the Watercress line, the main line to London, and also the Basingstoke and Alton Light Railway, so through a junction there. It was opened in 1903, and it carried on fairly light traffic really until 1955, when passenger services stopped. It rumbled on for a few years, a little bit of freight here and there, but then of course when Beeching came along, that was the final axe, and the railway was eventually closed completely, never to see another train, in 1968. One famous thing, or one thing that this railway is famous for, is a meeting at Droxford station on a railway carriage between Winston Churchill and the leaders of the alliance against the Allies rather, against Hitler, where they started to plan D-Day. Most of the planning was done at Southwark House, which is a few miles from here, but one of the initial meetings, I suppose to keep out of the way of bombs and things, was in a railway carriage up at Droxford. Morning. Morning. Afternoon. Hello there. So, coming through the cutting, and there's the bridge that carries Cuts Arch Lane over the top of the railway. You might remember the view that we had earlier. And we want to get up there. Now, do not be tempted by these steps over here. Steps in the vaguest sense of the word, because they've become dangerous, so I think the council, somebody has blocked them off at the top. So what you have to do, you go under the arch, and a bit further on there's a path off to the right, and you just follow that, which takes you back up onto the road. So there we go, there's the bridge back there. We've walked on probably, I don't know, 150, 200 yards. On the right there's a little gravel path there, don't miss it, you'll end up back in Droxford and beyond. So we turn right onto that, and it comes up onto the edge of the embankment and takes us parallel to the railway to eventually join back up at Cuts Arch Lane. Now the house up there to the left is Soberton Towers. It was built in the late 19th century for a Colonel Brone Blashford, and like all these big houses, they didn't last long in the 20th century. It became a school, a junior school, and then a bit later on it was a billet for Wrens that was stationed at HMS Mercury, which is a shore base up the road. And now it's just called the Towers, and you can buy a flat in there. So at the end of the track you come back out on Cuts Arch Lane and you head back up towards Soberton village. And there, in a very commanding position looking down the lane, is Soberton Towers. Certainly notice it as you come into the village. Here we are back in the village. Somebody doing something very noisy. Why do I always catch these people doing noisy things? I don't know. But there's the glorious one. So there we have it. That's the end of the walk. We're back at the White Lion. And we've done about 4.5 miles or so. But in that time we've travelled through about 6,000 miles of history. 6,000 miles, 6,000 years of history. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the walk, and if you have, then please like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.